Welcome to Beyond the Business Cage. I'm grateful you're here. This is a space for entrepreneurs, coaches, and side hustlers who are ready to explore what's really keeping them feeling trapped and what freedom could actually feel like. I'm Michelle Markman, your host, and this is Christy Holt. Christy, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me on the show. As you mentioned, my name is Christy Holt. I also call myself the Happiness Hussie, and that is because I am on a mission to spread happiness across the world. I am a podcaster and author, and really passionate about helping people to really create the most important foundational relationship of their life, and that is the one with themselves. Because a lot of people do look outward to relationships with external things or people, but I think things are all built upon that foundation, and that is actually your secret to changing your experience of everything around you.
I love that. That makes so much sense. I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yes, let's dive in.
So, what does your business or your entrepreneurial journey look like from the outside versus what it actually feels like in your body?
Oh, great question. It probably looks like it's easy from the outside because people generally see what you've curated and put out there. And the truth is nothing feels easy while you're learning and doing and growing. It can look easy and it can become easier. It can feel easier as you have more experience and have more practice at things. But I would say that it often feels much more difficult in your being than it looks like to the outside world, just because most of the time people are seeing highlight reels, and that's not really an accurate depiction of the real human journey, especially as an entrepreneur. So, how that feels in my body, I'm very intentional about creating things that feel fairly good for me and creating a business that's aligned for me and with me because I have done things that haven't been aligned in the past. I actually, when I was quite young, I became a professional accountant. And so I know what that feels like in my body as well. And that was not a fit for me. So being very intentional with the things that I'm creating and really trying to have fun with it and choosing things that really speak me, the authentic me out into the world rather than trying to follow any kind of cookie cutter strategies or approaches that probably work for other people but might not work for me because I'm me.
I think that's such a great point. There are so many business coaching programs out there that teach you these cookie cutter strategies that can really not only not work for you, but they can be destructive. I know in the first 9 months of my business, I was in one of those programs and I went into a deep burnout because I was doing things that did not match with my nervous system. So it is important to really figure out what's going to work for you and what's potentially going to harm you.
Absolutely. Because you're not helping anybody if you're in burnout, right? And this is the thing. I do speak a lot about people pleasing, and this is really pertinent for business owners too, for people pleasing and over giving. We can't help anybody. And I know that the reason that someone goes into this line of work is to make a difference, to make an impact, to help other people. But we're no use to anybody, including ourselves, if we're burnt out and exhausted and overwhelmed. So, really finding something that aligns is so crucial.
Exactly. When did you first notice that what was supposed to give you freedom started feeling a little bit more like jail or prison in business? Or was that an experience you've had?
I think so, because I think that I've tried to follow other people's strategies at their, this is the one, which is part of the journey. I think as you journey through a certain part of the journey is seeking advice from other people. And that can be valuable, or, well, actually, it's always valuable. It can be valuable in a way that helps you immediately, or it can be valuable in the way that teaches you what's not for you. And so sometimes we decide to work with someone because maybe we aren't finding the clarity within ourselves. And so it's easy to ask other people or outsource, those kinds of things. And I have been caught in that for sure. I have worked with people who I thought would be able to tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do so I can make this work. And I left several of those sort of coaching relationships not getting what I wanted or what I thought I was going to get, but with an awareness of what doesn't work for me, which of course is frustrating. You've spent the money and you've like invested the time and the energy into the thing. And it's frustrating when it doesn't get you the results that you're expecting. But it is information that's super valuable that you can take forward and say, okay, well, now I know that doesn't work. And I think every strategy can work for someone, but not every strategy will work for you because you're not just someone. You're you. So you have to find the strategy that aligns for you and like you said feels really good for you because otherwise fast road to burnout.
Absolutely. Can you describe a specific moment when you realized there was a disconnect between your external success and your internal experience?
Oh gosh, I think this is something that I am always working on evolving and creating clarity for myself around what success really looks like. And now I've got this unlock as far as like relationships go, because that's where my area of expertise. But of course, honestly, everything that I speak about in regards to relationship actually relates to the relationship that I have with my business too. So it's kind of like I can coach myself a little bit in some of these areas by taking pieces that I already know and applying them just to different circumstances. I think that, hmm, the world tends to define success by different measures than feel truly successful to me. And so part of getting this clarity is stripping away, the world's definitions of what success looks like and redefining what success looks like in my life, because other people might define success in a way that feels very awful in my body. Like to me, I would not feel successful if I were working 80 or 100 hours a week, but a lawyer would probably benchmark their success on that because they work on billable hours, which means their income would be higher, or an accountant, as I used to be one. So for me, I've redefined that success. I've redefined it in my relationship and I've redefined it in my business because, frankly, the world's version of success just wasn't working for me. So I think success is what you want it to be, and you have to be intentional, not like to tell you what to do, but if you want to feel really good in your being and in your business and create something sustainable, you have to be really intentional about what you're creating and what that's going to look like for you. So, yeah, that's probably what is typical of your audience, but not typical of the world, right? Because a lot of people outsource what does success look like. That's really like an internal decision.
So, how did you redefine success for you? What does it look like to you?
Well, for me, it is lazy mornings where I get to move at my own pace. I love me a Herkel Durkle, and I don't know if everybody out there will know what Herkel Durkling is, but it is staying in bed long past the time that you're supposed to be awake. So I love me a Herkel Durkle. I actually feel very creative first thing in the morning while I'm laying in my bed on my phone, which is probably the worst thing to do first thing in the morning, but I write some of my best content in the mornings when I'm like fresh and like my body hasn't had to start doing a thing yet. So my brain is just like, woo, ping, 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 ping. The other piece is just flexibility, right? And I love that, first of all, we have this internet, this global ability to connect with people all over the world. I don't have to work between certain specific hours to do the things that I want to do. I can work with people that are in different time zones so that I can, schedule things when it feels good to me. I am not a morning person and I am not a night owl. I think they call that the permanently exhausted pigeon, the person who's in between, neither like the early bird nor the night owl. I'm a midday girly, so I love that I have that flexibility. The ability to take time off when I want to take time off or spend time with my partner, the fact that I get to be home working on creative pursuits that actually bring me joy, and I get to be in the same house as my partner, like be there for my kids, all of these things. That's what success looks like for me. It's building a life that I want now, not in 20 years when I retire. That's too late. I want to have that flexibility and freedom to create the life that I want and have the experiences I want now.
I love that. What story do you tell yourself about why you should feel grateful or successful when you don't feel grateful or successful?
Hmm. Not one to should on myself. That's something I used to be very good at, shitting all over myself, but I no longer really should on myself because I realized, you know what? I had sort of like this aha moment where I realized I'm overwhelmed. And the reason I'm overwhelmed is because of my own damn thoughts. And I'm literally making myself overwhelmed. Like I have my own business. So all these shoulds of like, well, you got to do this and then you need to, do that. And then don't forget about this thing that you have to do in your, like, but who's making the rules? That's me so that I could have the freedom that I want. So I really try not to shoot on myself and I really try to give myself grace. I'm someone who is a big proponent of feeling your feelings, letting them be there, but not attaching the story, which that's what sucks us into the spiral. And again, that's kind of what I talked about in my first book, Stopping the Spiral, is just creating space to be with what is without the stories and the arguments and the narratives and everything else and like the thought feelings that really take it from, oh, I'm a part of me is feeling, guilty or, something like that. That's okay. It's okay to have that part. And I think just loving and accepting that we have all of the facets of humanity, like every feeling and everything that we can experience is part of us, and we get to choose. So yeah, I say no shitting ourselves. I think, have grace, allow yourself to be a fully feeling human and then consciously choose. Don't let it suck you in. I mean, easier said than done, I recognize, but that's why we have tools in our toolbox, right? So that we can get clarity, we can create the safety in our nervous systems, in our bodies, get the clarity of mind, and then we can consciously choose, okay, what do I want to create for myself? And feeling crappy, not what I want to create for myself.
Right, absolutely. I actually did a workshop not too long ago called Unlooped, and it's all about getting out of your head back into your body. Because I think for so many of us, highly sensitive and especially neurodivergent entrepreneurs, it's really easy for us to get kind of spun out in our heads and just lose track of the fact that we are these holistic beings with mind, body, and spirit, and we just get stuck up here and
Mhm.
disconnected from everything else. And then you just get in this tornado of overthinking, which is not helpful.
No, because overthinking about the future creates anxiety, right? And overthinking about the past creates depression. The only way to, alleviate those things is to come into the here and now and be present with what is in front of you and ideally not argue with it because that just creates sort of this unnecessary struggle within yourself. It's like saying that you love and accept yourself as you are, which can be really hard if there are certain parts of you that you really want to change. But loving and accepting yourself at your starting point is actually like the catalyst to true change because we can't change what we're unaware of. And so we need to really be just present with what is. And that actually gives us the opportunity to create the change that we want.
Absolutely. What part of running your business creates the most activation in your nervous system? Would you say it's sales, visibility, client delivery, or maybe something else?
I will be honest, sometimes it's tech. Like sometimes I swear, like the back end technical stuff, like I feel like I can hold my own. I guess I'm Gen X, but I kind of consider myself in like that Zennial category where I'm like late Gen X, early millennial, like on the cusp. So I identify a lot with millennials as well, elder millennials, I suppose. But honestly, I feel like I hold my own, but sometimes the tech just kicks my ass. Like it changes. Like just when I think I've figured it out and I'm like, this worked last time, then it doesn't. So I'd say tech is probably the thing that gets me riled up the most out of anything in my business. The rest is like pretty calm. Like, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
tech. It's the back end things.
I think we have that in common. When we first got on here, I had a tech issue and kicked
Yeah.
everyone off. So you are not alone in that. And I am an elder millennial, by the way. So I can relate. I can definitely relate to tech. What would your business feel like if you could run it from a completely regulated or grounded place?
I actually think about this quite often because that is what I'm aiming to create with intention. And to me, that would be calm and peaceful and fun. And I used to think that it might be more, if I tried to like get into the feeling of like, what would it feel like to have this huge, unanticipated sale. And I feel like that actually rubs up my nervous system more than I actually want in my business. Like that level of like, "Eek," like that's exciting. I don't want it to feel like that all the time. Right. So I've been thinking about this actually for the last while. And I was actually thinking about it even before our call today. I was thinking about like, what is it that I desire to create as far as feeling in my business? Because I did this, I'll tell you what, I did this. I created a list of what I wanted to create an experience in relationship before I found my current partner. And it was very much the same thing. How do I want to feel? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What is that experience, that I want to create? And it is more calm, free, peaceful, happy, like in a grounded, not like so excited kind of way, but in a like confident kind of like, underlying, like I think happiness is our intended true nature. And we just get in the way of it by, you know, thinking other things or feeling other things. And that's fine because we're human. But really coming back to that just grounded state of being is really what I'm aiming for. And fun because we're here to have fun. I think that's what the human experience is all about.
Absolutely. We don't have enough fun.
No, that's why I create things like, this sweary unicorn coloring book. Like it's just for fun. Like it didn't really have a purpose aside from like I had fun and people will have fun creating, coloring it. So,
I love that. What would you tell someone watching who feels successful on paper, but trapped in their body
hmm,
or in their business or both?
I would say that you're not your business in the way that you might think that you
Right.
are. I'm talking myself here too, right? So this is nuggets all around. You are part of your business, but your business is not you. So you will do well if you, not like well in your business. Again, I'm not talking about success, but I mean well in your being, to really focus on what feels right and aligned for you, really listening and tuning into your body, and then building on that foundation. It's like I would say if I was speaking to someone who said their relationship is struggling. I would say the same thing. The foundation to this, and I often say you don't have a relationship problem, you have an identity problem. The foundation is what needs shifting, and that is a relationship that you have with yourself. And I'd say the same thing is true in business. So building this foundational relationship with yourself where you know what you want, you have that clarity, which makes it really easy for you to identify what's for you and what's not for you. Like that really alleviates a huge amount of overwhelm immediately, right? Knowing, that's not for me. Great. You don't have to think about it anymore. You're just going to try other things and see, test, and experience. So I would say that that relationship with yourself is the most important piece of this because everything else is built on that foundation, and your entire experience of life, of love, of business, of all of it is filtered through your unique lens. So if you can get to work on that, then everything else will fall into place much more easily.
And what would you say to someone who says, I hear you, but where do I even start? Someone who maybe has never had a relationship with themselves, or they hear the idea of self-love and they go, "Ugh," someone who's like brand new to the whole concept,
Yeah.
or maybe thinks it's antiquated, or
Well, the idea of self-love is really to say that you like accept yourself regardless of the circumstances, regardless of perception of success or measuring up or performance or any sort of like external validity. Self-love is just appreciating and loving yourself as you are, not without these expectations and hoops to jump through. So I think a lot of people like confuse self-love and self-care, like thinking that like, oh, it's self-love if I just get a pedicure and have a bubble bath, but that's self-care. That's nurturing yourself, and that's also important. But self-love is really about more like self-esteem, although not. It is just really about accepting yourself regardless of your performance or your perception, other people's perception of you. So anyone want to argue that that's not really crucial and important? I'm happy to have that debate because I have noticed in this life that people who are happy and love themselves and appreciate themselves for who they are instead of trying to be someone else are kinder, are more expressive of that, and are able to give more of themselves, which again, this is why you come into this business to be able to give to other people. And that's why I know, people give so much But if you can take care of yourself first, you'll create this abundance of love and care and acceptance that will easily overflow into your business, into your relationships, into other areas of your life. So why wouldn't you just put a little bit of effort in there? And where to start? It really kind of depends where you're at, but I would be definitely starting with regulating your nervous system so that you can just create within yourself a sense of safety. Sometimes this can be better done with someone who can guide you if it's not something that you're familiar with. And there are a ton of different modalities and tools, of course, that exist out there. So it might require a little bit of sampling to see which one really resonates and what one works and feels right for you. But I would say it would start with the nervous system regulation, just because that's where you create some space to see more clearly. And then you can choose what your next step is.
Where can people connect with you?
Well, you know what? I'm a Facebook girly, so I love to hang out on Facebook. I just feel like the community is unmatched, and the way that we can interact there is just more appealing to me. I'm on all the platforms, so you can find me wherever you're at. But yeah, you'll mostly find me sharing all of my thoughts ad hoc on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being open and vulnerable with us. For those listening who recognize themselves in the conversation, I have an offer right now for something called Momentum Reset. This is a 2-week high-touch coaching support program. It's $497. And this is for the entrepreneur who really is ready to redesign their business around their nervous system regulation. It's for someone who is feeling like they're stuck in a 7 by 12 jail cell, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and they have not been able to create the expansive lifestyle business that they set out to create or hit consistent 10K months. And thank you again, Christy, for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.